first Zoom meeting and welcome Mr. Neal Akin. And Neal, good morning to you and congratulations on your most recent closing, and thank you for taking the time to do this interview with us.
Thank you, Tom Tucker. I appreciate it.
And let's start off, and again, the format that we're trying to get from all of these interviews is to help agents learn from what you did right, what you might have done a little differently, and how you can help, you're going to help yourself build your business. So congratulations on your most recent sale. Let me ask you, did you have a buyer or a seller that you represented?
My two most recent sales were both listings.
Both listings. Okay, so we'll gang those two together and we'll ask you at the conclusion what you really learned from each one. You can pull from both if you'd like to. Let me ask you, on the offers that you received, either one of those, did you have multiple offers on them?
Two very different listings. One was a little condo in Santee, and I had a good amount of showings. I'd say 7 to 10 per week, but it took me about 2.5 weeks to get an offer.
Okay.
And in stark contrast, my other house in El Cajon that I put on the market, I had 20 showings on the first day, 3 offers the first day, and we accepted one of those offers the next morning.
Okay, so let's talk about the one where you had the 3 offers for just a moment. How did you differentiate which offer you were seriously considering, and how did you put forth the facts of those 3 offers to your client?
So depending on the situation and how many offers I have, sometimes I'll put together a spreadsheet. Other times I will just present them piece by piece or offer by offer. So I'll always send over the offer itself. I'll send over the letter if there's a letter included, and then I paint the whole picture for my clients to ensure that they understand each offer and in basically the uniqueness of each offer.
And when you get multiple offers, Neal, do you feel that you influence the client as to which one they might most seriously want to consider?
Do I feel I influence them?
Yes.
I don't know if I would use it influence, but I certainly feel like I guide them.
All right. And let's talk about what causes you to guide them one way. Is it because the lenders are saying the buyer is in fact pre-approved, pre-qualified? What helps you in that guidance to the client? Okay,
so first of all, any offer that's submitted on my listings, I require obviously a pre-approval letter, DU or LP approval if I can get it. Sometimes people are a little iffy on submitting a full DU because of all the personal information in it. But proof of funds is always very helpful. And then I encourage other agents to submit a personal letter because it does matter. And in this particular case, there were so many similarities between the folks that wanted to buy the house and the folks that were selling the house that it really struck a chord with that particular with that particular seller. And so they wanted to accept that offer, but they wanted the terms from the better offer. Had I waited, let's say 3 or 4 more days, I probably would have easily had 10 offers on the property. But that letter struck such a chord that they didn't want to go any further.
You know, sometimes, yeah, it's the personal involvement and I'll call it camaraderie or a good feeling, a good vibe that a seller might have that allows them to say, well, I'd really like it to go this way. And then your job becomes making sure you ferret out all the facts and say, okay, if you like this one the best, these are the facts. But the choice is always yours, Mr. Seller. Is that correct?
Every single time.
Okay.
I'm not a fiduciary to the transaction. So, and also let me chime in. The agent on the other side is very important too. And you can very much get a feeling of how they're going to be in a transaction, just with how they present their offer, how thorough the offer is, the communication, so many things. So this particular agent, her name is Sarah. She was a past president of PSAR. Just a really stand-up, good agent. It was a pleasure working with her, and I look forward to doing another deal with her.
How did the communication between you and Sarah and the seller go? give me a little idea of how you communicated with your seller when Sarah called you and had a need for a repair request or anything like that. How'd the communication flow?
The communication flowed pretty darn naturally. And I don't know if that is the answer you're looking for. Sarah did a really good job of communicating each item. So, for example, they wanted the main sewer line jetted because there was concerns. It's an older sewer line. Typically, I don't have my clients do that, but she expressed that, you know, the roof is older, X, Y, Z are older. And a lot of the stuff on the house was older. She said, this is the one thing that we would really like to have done. And so I went to my sellers like, hey, they're not asking for X, they're not asking for Y, they're not asking for Z. I think you should take this upon yourself, get the camera down there, make sure it works. And that's what we did. And we hashed it out, and, you know, it's just good communication.
What was there within the inspection process? Did you have a pre-existing termite report, or did they get their own, and how did that work out?
What did we do on termite? Did we tap that house? Yeah, we did. I'm sorry, so many transactions going on.
Yeah.
So I simply ordered the report and, you know, pretty minor stuff on the outside of the house. The clients moved out. They understood that they had to be out and on a certain date. I always try to schedule my tentings up front, right when I get the report, because they can get so backed up, especially right now.
Sure.
The exterior repairs, it can always be done. That's not a big deal, but getting that tent scheduled is a big deal. So I got it scheduled 3 days before we closed. The day we closed, it came off in the morning, and that was it. So easy peasy.
Did Sarah give you, in the RPA, did she give you a request for a clear termite report?
I don't recall, but I typically will counter out the ones that write in Section 1 clearance on the RPA, because the RPA specifically states you are not to ask for clearance on this form. And it amazes me how many agents ask for it. And I play by the rules. So I don't ask for clearance. I do it the way it's supposed to be. Now, I know it used to be that we had the WPA and, you know, it was different, but times change.
Sure.
It is what it is.
Okay, so you worked that out. How did you do on time frames? Were they real tight? And was Sarah able to keep those in consideration of what you were asking her to do?
She did everything she put on that contract to the T.
To the T. Okay, so what can we learn from that? She was prepared with vendors. She was prepared knowing what to expect. Sounds like, you know, past president of the association. One of the questions I have down here is the agent experienced or not? You got lucky. You got a very experienced agent.
So I don't know that I got lucky. I had a really good sense of who I was going to be working with. After doing enough deals, you can tell how an agent's going to be on the other side most of the time.
Okay.
And also, you know, if you're a past president, you should have an idea of what you're doing in a transaction.
Absolutely.
And you can also tell a lot from how an offer is written, like actually written. There are so many lazy offers presented. You know, a lot of agents don't bother to go the extra step and find the DRE number for the brokerage. And that's annoying to me. They don't fill in my contact information on page 10 or whatever it is. It's just laziness, and I don't like that. So when I present an offer, I'm incredibly thorough. And then I actually break down my offer with each document that I'm including in the offer. And then I actually do a summary or a synopsis of the offer. I do an introduction. I tell them a little bit about me and how I work and what they can expect from me in a transaction. So when I present an offer to an agent, they're going to have a really good sense of what they're going to get on the flip side.
Perfect. You know, there's an expression, this is who I am, this is how I work, and this is how I get paid. And for those that are thoroughly prepared, then those are the agents you really want to do some business with. So the repairs on the house went well, no problems at all? You got everybody squared away? Anything to learn on that?
Yeah, so I typically, like to coach my clients to offer some sort of credit in lieu of whatever the repairs may be, because it gives them that peace of mind that now it's out of their hands.
Okay.
So in this particular case, one of the things that was a big deal to the seller or to the buyers was the shower enclosure is older. And Mr. and Mrs. Sellers have always known it. So I came back to them and I said, hey guys, my suggestion to you, instead of doing any of these requested pieces, and there wasn't very much, I say offer them $1,000 credit, call it a day. You don't have to worry about it anymore. They can go get it, you know, install themselves. And I actually went on to depot.com. I priced it out. You know, I called Sarah. I said, hey, Sarah, I priced this out. It's comparable. Send her the information. Can you present this to your clients and say, hey, would this work for you guys? And that's what we ended up doing.
Okay, good, good. So smooth because you did your homework up front. That's what we should learn from that. So Neal, on this particular file specifically, what did you learn?
What did I learn?
We always walk away with something where we say, I knew I did it right. I could have done this better. What did you learn from this file working with an experienced agent?
What did I learn from this file? I learned it's good working with other experienced agents because then you don't have to do both jobs. But what else did I learn? Well, so they had a gas leak right after we accepted an offer. So that was fun. So $4,500 later and an intense week of getting work done and hoping the clients stick around because, you know, replacing the entire gas system on a house is not a small project.
Sure.
I learned that I don't want to do that again.
Got it. So when that was done, you made sure that the receipts and the warranties and everything were given to the buyer agent in a timely fashion, correct?
Absolutely. Everything was permitted. Went through the city, of course. SCGG had to come in and out. They were involved in every piece of it. It was, again, it's just communicating. That's all I do. The one thing I learned from you is you're like a magician. You really do know when you wave that wand, certain things are going to happen. And I do admire you for that. And I mean that sincerely. Okay, let's shift gears. Let's talk a little bit about the current market. You know, there's a big pressure going on with our competition, and I'm talking specifically Zillow, Redfin, and everything else. What's your take on what your clients feel about Redfin and Zillow? Not so much you personally, but how do your clients talk to you about the competition and the fact that we no longer, other than having the data in one place, it's now being extracted and reformatted and sold? What's their take on Redfin, Zillow, and the other competitors? So I think my clients value the relationship that I have with them. So I don't get a lot of pushback in regards to those, you know, outside companies, because they value the work that I provide to them and you know, the hand holding, because I'm very much a hand holder. But I also find that a lot of my clients use Redfin to do searches, a lot of them. And you know, truth be told, I've even used Redfin when I was searching for property up in Temecula, Murrieta, because it was easier and I didn't have access to their MLS at the time, and we weren't CRMLS together at that point. And their system is good. Now, in terms of, it's not supposed to be about me. It's supposed to be about their opinion, correct?
Yeah. It's hard to separate the two because you've been in the business long enough, like I have, to know what it was like to have, I'll call it control. Now we quote don't. But one thing that you brought up to me that I thought was really interesting is you and I really need to learn how their systems work, because the consumers are using that for their research. And if we just poo-poo it and say, don't trust Zillow, don't bother with Redfin, we're making a mistake. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And I can actually get into that a little bit. Were you done with your thought?
I'm finished with that. And we've got about another minute to go. So just give me your quick take on that. And I have one final question for you.
Okay, so a lot of clients will use two functions on Zillow and Redfin, so one each. The hot home in Redfin is a lot of people look for that and want that. And you can watch in Redfin how they treat your property as you list it, and you can see how many saves you get, how many views you get, and it's very interesting because they keep track of that, the sellers. And then in Zillow, they also do they have a tracking device in there. And I always go into Zillow and update my listing the second I hit list on the MLS. You can't do anything like that in Redfin, but you can track progress. Redfin will always pull the information fastest from the MLS, always.
Okay.
You have to be careful when listing a property that's in a value range, because on both Zillow and Redfin, it won't show the range. It'll only show the top end.
That just happened. That just happened to me.
Yep. And I had a seller earlier in the year freak out on me because she was afraid people wouldn't come see her house. And so I went in there and I actually put in the remarks what the value range was, and that was to her satisfaction.
That was mine too, because when I became frustrated with both, I made the inquiries, and I think Brandon helped me if I'm not mistaken. So I just went down to the confidential remarks and put it where it needed to be. Okay, let's do this. I want to summarize one thing, and I want to ask Neal Akin, where will you be in 3 to 5 years in your business, and what does your business model look like as you're evolving?
I wish I could tell you that I have that business plan written up, but I do not. I should, and it's coming to be the time of year where we should start planning for 2021. So I appreciate the reminder. That being said, I'm analyzing, all of my clientele, and I'm probably going to see a lot of move up in my clientele. A lot of my clients over the past 10 years, call it 13 years, the vast majority of them are first-time buyers. So I have seen more and more getting the calls from my past clients, hey, it's time for us to move up in the world. I want to sell our house, I want to buy a new house. So I very much strategically create plans around that. And it just is what it is. And then you have a lot of people that are moving out of state for whatever reason it is. And then, outside of that, I just keep track and communicate and say hi to all my old clients, friends. I mean, to me, they're one and the same. And that has been made my business steady for the past 13 years.
One suggestion that was always well received on my end anyway, is you take all your clients and you put, you look at them on a big spreadsheet, so to speak, and you have a relationship with this one, a stronger relationship with this one. And to me, what I always found beneficial was to categorize where the near-term best leads would be for a move up. Because I looked at I used to keep meticulous records, and I'd say, these people had a baby, and here we are now 3 years later, and now they've had a second baby. I put them in a 2-bedroom, let's give this person a 1 to 10. Let's give him a 10. He's ready to move. So I would then do my cold calling around the list that I had developed. Now, some of the agents watching this may not have the depth of past client, but certainly we can learn that if we're working with clients, we should prioritize them in a 1 to 10, A through Z, or whatever we're doing as we build our business. So
agreed.
Neal, the time's gone by quickly. I'm going to have to cut us off because we want to keep these really cool. Is there one final thing Neal wants to say to the group out there at CPP? And again, I so appreciate you taking the time today.
It's been a pleasure. For everybody out there writing offers, just take your time, write good offers, communicate with the listing agent. Let them know you're good at what you do, and you'll get your offer accepted.
Neal, that's just so succinct. I hope that I've asked the right questions, because you are full of a lot of really good answers. And on that, I'm going to say congratulations on a great year. I know you're a superstar, and I really appreciate you taking the time to be the first one on our sales success series to take the time and share with the other agents in the firm. And I know on behalf of the other agents, they say thank you.
Thank you, and I got to go to work.
Done. Thank you. Talk to you soon. See you CPP agents soon. Bye now.